Hi, I'm Mike Bellevue, and I'm here at Duelist Den to make a little video. And today what we're going to talk about are lever action rifles for self-defense. Well, it's not a secret that these days the most popular rifles in America are modern sporting rifles, which are semi-automatic rifles, generally based on an AR design or similar designs. And they're useful for sport, they're useful for self-defense, they're just a lot of fun to shoot. And even though I'm known for black powder and muzzle loading, I've got about half a dozen of them. I shoot them quite often. I like shooting just about everything. Now, I'm lucky because I live in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania, particularly for a northeastern state, is very gun friendly. So there are really no restrictions on what you can do here beyond the typical federal restrictions, But that is not the case everywhere. And I wrote an article for gunsandammo.com a few months ago addressing that very issue. And it got brought home to me again because I posted this picture up on Facebook, which is 3 of my modern sporting rifles, and just mentioned that I like shooting them. And one of the folks on Facebook wrote back to me and said, "Yeah, that's great. Sure wish I could do that, but I live in Massachusetts." And it really drove home to me that, there are a number of places here in the United States that are pretty restrictive as far as gun laws go. And a lot of them are in the Northeast and on the West Coast, as you would expect. So a lot of these places have banned modern sporting rifles like this one based on physical characteristics. And because of that, I went back to this. And I've got to say, after I put this back in my truck, 12 years ago, I haven't changed back because I never felt undergunned with this at all. And if you live in a place where you can't use a modern sporting rifle, you can use a lever action and never feel like you're at a disadvantage. And I'll explain why. All right, modern sporting rifles are great. They're great for self-defense. And the beauty of them is, of course, that besides being pretty ergonomic, you can engage targets about as fast as you can see them in the sights and pull the trigger. And that's pretty darn good, right? So there's no doubt that rapid fire is one of the benefits of having a modern sporting rifle, a semi-automatic. But is it really that rapid? You got to aim it, you got to pick out a target, you got to get your sights on them, you got to hit it. So how does the lever action stand up? And the answer is about the same, really. You can hit targets as fast as you can see them with a lever action, just like you can only hit them as fast as you can see them with a semi-auto. So, as far as being able to shoot fast at multiple targets, not a problem with a lever action. Of course, the modern sporting rifle has a lever action like, say, this 1866 Uberti, completely beat when it comes to magazine capacity. Right? I mean, that little Just Right carbine I was shooting, it's got a magazine capacity of anywhere from 17 to 33, depending on which Glock magazine I use with it. So there's no doubt that that's an advantage. But is it really that important? I mean, most civilian gunfights are over in 3 shots. And I guarantee you there's more than 3 shots in this. Jeff Milton, a pretty famous 19th century lawman and gunfighter, he was out riding in New Mexico when he was a deputy sheriff. out there, and he was attacked by 3 bandits, all shooting rifles. And the first shot they took at Jeff hit him in the leg, killed his horse, wounded him. But he got his rifle out, and as he says, after that, a lot of shooting went on. And those bad guys were never seen again. And a gun that could do that in 1880 can do it today too. Now, you might say to yourself, okay, sure, Jeff Milton could do that in 1880, but he wasn't up against somebody with modern firearms, and maybe he wouldn't have fared so well. Maybe not, but I'm not so sure about that. All right, well, Charlie Askins was one of the most famous gun writers and gunfighters of the 20th century. And when he was an Army colonel in the late 50s, he was an advisor to the South Vietnamese. Charlie was a big-time hunter, and when he was in Vietnam in the 1950s, his job was to teach the Vietnamese how to shoot rifles, set up their Army marksmanship program. But what he spent most of his time doing was hunting, which he loved. And he was out hunting one day, and he was using a Savage Model 99 like this one. Because Charlie was left-handed, he didn't like most bolt-action rifles. Very few of them were made for left-handers, so he liked a good lever gun. He was out hunting when he saw that a 5-man Viet Minh patrol had gotten between him and his Jeep. They were crossing a river, and there was no way he could get to his Jeep without them seeing him. So even though they were armed with AK-47s, and he was armed with one of these, he very quickly shot the first 2 guys in the patrol, and the other 3 guys scattered heading back across the river. And that little white dot that I was hitting out there, that's my 75-yard gong. So, Charlie did it with this against AK-47s. So, I would say you don't have much of a problem if you're armed with a lever gun. Now, the question is, what lever action makes the most sense for self-defense? And really, you've got to decide if you want to use a rifle caliber or a pistol caliber. Now, if you want a rifle caliber, this baby right here, now this is a 1952 vintage Model 99, and this one is in 300 Savage, which was actually the precursor to the 308 7.62 NATO round. And later, in the 70s and 80s, Savage made this gun chambered in 308 itself. So, if you want a cartridge that'll reach out there and touch them, like an AR-10, then this is your boy, because it'll reach out there and touch them. Just like that. Now, another great choice is the Model 94 or the Marlin 336, like this one, in 30-30. And the 30-30 round is outstanding. A lot of people give it short shrift today because it's been overtaken by, sexier, higher velocity rounds. But to be honest with you, out to 200 yards, it is a great gun. I'm out here at the rifle range, and I've got the Marlin 336, and I'm going to try to ring some of the 150-yard steel plates. So we'll see how I do. Well, I got all three of them. Now I'm going to go for the 200-yard plate. Got it. And if you're engaged in self-defense beyond 200 yards, that might not be self-defense. I mean, if you're in a war zone, you've probably already been issued an M4. You don't have to worry about it not being legal to carry, right? But I can only really shoot comfortably out to 200 yards at any time. And I have hit plenty of 200-yard targets with my Marlin 336 with open sights. So either way you go, whether it's the Marlin or the Savage, if you need a rifle cartridge in a rapid firing platform, well, a lever action is all you need to have. Now, if you've elected to go with a pistol cartridge for your lever action rifle for self-defense, you've got a lot of choices. You could use guns chambered for 45 Colt, 4440, 2520. The choices are almost endless. But my recommendation is that you get a gun chambered either for 357 Magnum or 44 Magnum. And I think if you use either of those rounds, you won't be sorry. They've got plenty of power for taking down varmints or man-sized varmints. And particularly in 44 Magnum, but to some extent in 357 Magnum, you have a lot of ammo versatility. So for instance, we know it's illegal to take hollow points like these, which by the way are incredibly effective, into the state of New Jersey. So you can load up with soft point bullets that will still expand and do a heck of a job. And at 44 Magnum velocities out of a rifle, this will stop anything in its tracks that you want to stop. So that's my recommendation to you. Now, if you've already got a 4440 or a 45 Colt, you don't want to spend any more money, which is perfectly understandable. No problem at all. They will do the job fine. But if you can go with 44 Magnum, which is my #1 choice, I think that you'll be money ahead. Now, if you choose to go with 357 Magnum, you can get lever actions in that caliber from just about every manufacturer, whether it's the Italian Ubertis for copies of the 66 or 73, or for Moroku-made Winchesters, whether it's the 1873 model, the 1894 model, or the 1892 model. But I prefer 44 Magnum. You can get 44 Magnum in a lot of the 92s, modern-made 1892 Winchesters, or their clones. And I think that that's an excellent choice. Now, my personal choice, as I've told you, is this Winchester angle eject. It's before they put all the safety crap on it. To me, this gun handles very well. It's extremely light. It's as light as carrying an AR. You can find them on the used market for a song. Now, I've had this one for about 30 years, but I only paid about $150, $125 for it 30 years ago. I don't think they have gone through the roof since then. And it is a fast shooting, accurate rifle that hits as hard as you could want it to, and it is pretty much legal anywhere you would want to take it. But whatever brand you choose, I think if you've got a 357 Magnum or a 44 Magnum lever action, you are not undergunned. You don't need to be carrying an AR. You can if you want, and if it's legal where you are, I think that's excellent. But if you have to go somewhere where they're not allowed, or if you just don't care for the modern sporting rifle genre, which some people don't, but you want to be able to defend yourself effectively, this is the ticket. In the home, in the truck, out in the woods, this gun gets it all done. Fast as you can pull the trigger.